Hi, I'm Rick Wessel, the Associate Dean for Academic and Student Affairs here at Samueli Engineering. And I'm going to give you a little short talk to introduce you to what your experience is going to be like as an undergraduate student here at UCLA studying engineering. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. You have done really well in high school or at your community college to earn admission into our program. We had over 30,000 students, high school students apply to be a freshman, and we accepted about 8% of those applicants. So it was really tough to earn admission. You've done really well. Similarly, for transfer applicants, we had about 4,300 applicants from community colleges, and we admitted about 11% of those applicants. Either way, you've done really well, and you've earned your way into our program. I want to tell you a little bit to kind of help you get ready because, frankly, no matter how smart you are and how well you did, either in the high school program you were in or in community college, what you're about to do, it's going to be harder than what you've done in the past. Um, that's actually okay. It's great because college, this is the time you're going to spend these 4 years or 2 years if you're coming from a community college turning yourself into the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life. And doing hard things now, taking on difficult challenges, just prepares you better for what lies ahead. You'll just know how to do more stuff when you're in this through the difficult things that you're going to do over these years to come. So um, but I want to talk to you a little bit about how to take on this challenge because it is going to be a little bit tougher than what you've done in the past. And there are things that you can do to mitigate that, to make your experience the best that it can be. So I want to start by just kind of framing the challenge a little bit. So first of all, um, UCLA has a quarter system and it goes very fast. So I like to differentiate the quarter system and the semester system by saying that the semester system is like a marathon. There's often a long break in the middle where if you're behind, you can get caught up. And if you're caught up, you can go skiing. But the quarter system doesn't have any big breaks in the middle. In fact, any holiday that might happen during the quarter system, it's kind of a fake holiday because they'll say, oh, well, Monday is this holiday. But all that really means to you is that the TA isn't available to hold the discussion section. Your problem sets for that week don't really change. The amount of content you have to learn during that week doesn't really change. So quarters are 10 weeks long. They're a sprint. You're really not going to get much of a break during the quarter. Now, the good news is, after the quarter is over, when you go away for Christmas or winter vacation after the fall quarter, it's a real break. The quarter's over and you're done with it. So that's the good part. But during the quarter, you have to be on. And since it's a sprint, if you talk to a runner, and ask them what's the most important part of the sprint, they'll say the beginning, how you come off the blocks. So it's really important that you start your quarter, dive into the work immediately. It makes a big difference because if you take a couple of days to get started, you're never going to get those 2 days back and you're going to be behind the whole quarter. I want to talk to you about how to work efficiently during the quarter. And it's actually really important that you start your homework as soon as it's assigned. And to kind of put this, to help you think about what's going on here, each week, there are a lot of opportunities for you to get help. So the TAs have office hours, the professor has office hours, the TA is going to have a discussion, all that's in addition to lecture. Some students seem to think that these things are optional and choose not to go to them, but I think that's a huge mistake. You've actually paid for all of these things. That's what your tuition pays for. The tuition doesn't pay for room and board. It doesn't pay for food. All it pays for are those educational experiences, the lectures, discussions, and office hours. So you're leaving hundreds of dollars on the table when you don't bother to go to an office hour where someone is waiting to help you. And I think that, But in order for the office hour to be helpful, you've got to be ready for it. You got to know what you don't know. You have to have questions. And that's why it's so important to engage the material early in the week by starting that problem set as soon as possible and working until you figure out what you don't know. Find a place where you're stuck. And then you can go into that first office hour and say, great, problem 3, part C, I don't know how to do this. This doesn't seem right to me. And then the TA can help you out. That's their job. They're waiting for you to come with that question. So if you do that, you are going to spend a fewer number of total hours doing the work. So you'll end up with more time to go out to dinner or have fun with friends if you start your work early and get the help when the help is available to answer your questions. So the opposite is if you wait until the night before the homework is due to start the homework, there you are at 10:30 at night and you hit the same roadblock, the same question that you could have hit 5 days earlier, only now you will instead not have anybody to help you. You'll be all alone there in your room and the TA is asleep, the professor's asleep, and you still have that question. Also, in addition to going to the TA office hours and the professor's office hours, you can take advantage of Tau Beta Pi tutoring. Our Engineering Honor Society offers tutoring starting 3rd week, and they have a great system where you can drag your mouse over the calendar of their appointments, and if you you select the class that you need help with, and the calendar will light up with the times and people that can be there to help you, so that you can go there when you know that someone can help you with your specific class. So that's good. And in fact, you can also get help just from your classmates. And I want to focus on that for a little bit because it is really important that you learn how to work well with your classmates and succeed in your classes through teamwork. Because those are skills that you'll use for the rest of your life. And I'm really talking about courage and compassion that you can learn that will help you do well in your classes, with your classmates, and as an engineer. So what am I talking about? Courage and compassion? I'm talking about the courage to admit when you don't know what's going on. And that's difficult, but critical. And you need that once you develop that courage, it makes things a lot easier going forward. So if you can't admit right at the beginning that you don't know what's going on, it gets harder and harder to say, oh, actually, I haven't known what's going on for 2 weeks, or I haven't known what's going on all month. So it's much easier as soon as you don't know what's going on, even though it's not easy, it'll be easier now than later to say, wait a second, I don't understand what you just said. Let's take a minute. Can you explain that to me again? Or to go to a classmate and say, wait a second, I'm really lost. I need help with problem 2 here, or what he said in lecture today didn't make any sense. Can you help me? Now, the other end of that, the compassion part, is how you as a classmate behave when someone else has worked up the courage to ask you for help. And the thing that makes it difficult to be compassionate is that there's a little bit of amnesia involved with learning engineering concepts, or actually a lot of different concepts. But this happens a lot in engineering. And the problem is that there is this invisible wall between impossible and obvious. And you pass through that wall when you learn material. So there are many things that you know now that you learned in high school that just seem really obvious to you, super simple. So like if you've taken a calculus class, you know that the derivative of e to the x, that's a very easy derivative because it's just e to the x. But if you haven't taken a calculus class and somebody says, oh, what's the derivative of e to the x? And you sort of stare at them and say, well, I don't know what a derivative is. What is e? This seems very confusing to me. Then the other person might be thinking, oh, this person, they're stupid. They don't even know the derivative of e to the x. That's so easy because they forgot. They forgot that there was a time that they didn't know and it was actually hard. And so when you're on the other end of someone who has just worked up the courage to reveal to you what they don't know and ask you for help, you have to remember that there was a time when you didn't know and that was impossible for you, even though now it's easy. And you have to have then you can have the compassion to say, oh, I remember when that was hard and I can make it easy for you. Let's do this. So that's super important. And if you guys learn to treat each other that way with courage and compassion, you can have a wonderful time here as an engineering student. It can be really satisfying, both the learning part and the helping part. Those are really satisfying experiences, and they help you grow as a person and make you into, help create a great engineer. But it does take work and attention. And I just want to say that, UCLA, our undergraduates, we have a culture of being helpful to each other and having that supportive environment where it's okay to reveal that you don't know something, and your friends will be compassionate. And even people who are not your friends, your classmates, will be compassionate in how they help you to learn the material. But that culture, it's not just given to you. So you, as a new class, you have to create it for yourselves. But I really want to encourage you to do that. Pay attention to it and create the kind of environment that you want to go to school in. And you guys can have a wonderful experience if you do that. So now let's talk about some other logistical issues that can help you succeed as a student here. First of all, the degree you're getting is hard enough without doing sort of silly things to make it harder than it has to be. And so one example of this is, please sign up for a schedule that is reasonable. Okay, so we're going to tell you, your counselors are going to tell you, as a freshman in your first quarter, you should take 3 real classes and then 1 seminar like Engineering 96 or Engineering 2, or a class in your department that's like Introduction to Electrical Engineering. So one of those seminars and 3 full classes, that's what you're going to take. So maybe a math class, a physics class, an English class, or a GE, or a chemistry class if you need it. So about three classes and a seminar, that's your first quarter. That's enough. You're actually going to be taking this other class called Being a College Student for the First Time. Lots of things are going to happen to you that are going to take up your time that you were not expecting. So it's really important that you don't overload yourself. There's really, if you think about, if you're worried like, but wait, I need to take 5 classes, I want you to realize that if you take 3 classes and it turns out it was a little too easy for you and you get 3 A pluses and have a little bit more time to go out and have fun with your friends, that's not a bad outcome. But if you take 5 classes and get 5 C's and don't know what's going on in any of your classes, so that you're not prepared to take the follow-on classes that build on those classes, that is not a good outcome. And you're going to be working for quarters in the future to recover from that. So another way to think about this, each class, remember, I talked about all those experiences that you're paying for, the discussions, the office hours. So let's think about it. We've got 4 hours of lecture, maybe 2 hours of discussion, and then a couple more office hours. And then you're going to spend 10 hours a week doing that homework assignment. So that's 17 or 18 hours for 1 class. 3 classes is more than a full-time job's worth of time. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is, you might say, oh, well, I can figure this out later. I'll sign up for 5 classes and then I'll drop the 2 that I don't really want to take in a couple of weeks. You don't have time to do that. Drop deadline is Friday of 4th week. So you can't really drop a class after Friday of 4th week, but that's already way too late. Why? Because you're spending a lot of time on those classes that you're not going to complete. And that time is being sucked away from the classes you are going to complete, and is lowering your grades and decreasing your learning in the classes you are going to take. So I suggest to you that your personal drop deadline should be the first day of classes. Figure out what classes you're really going to take. It's not that complicated. Our curriculum is pretty sequential, and you can talk to our student affairs officers and figure it out. And then once you're in the classes, you're in. You're focused on getting that homework done, starting it as early as possible so you can develop questions. Remember, and I didn't say you need to finish the homework the first day. You need to start it the first day to work enough to get those questions. But anyway, you don't want to spread yourself too thin at the beginning. And then when you finally figure out what classes you're going to take, you have to dig yourself out of that hole. You want to start out with an appropriate amount of work and just be getting it done on time, staying on top of things from the very beginning. That's a much more pleasant experience. Okay, so right. So now we're going to move on to thinking about your network of support. So I've talked about this a little bit before. So your classmates are your team. You're not fighting against them. You're working with your classmates to learn all this material. So your classmates are a big part of your network of support, but you also have a faculty advisor who will meet with you each quarter. In fact, they will make themselves available each quarter. You'll get a message telling you that the various times they're required to make themselves available for 3 hours to meet with their advisees. This is different from the office hours for a course that they're teaching. It's a time to meet with you to talk about your plans for the future, how you decide what you're going to major in, how you decide what's the right internship for you for this summer, how to find undergraduate research. These are things your faculty advisor can help you with, and they're available each quarter for 3 hours. You actually are required to meet with them once a year for 10 minutes. If you don't get that done, then there'll be a hold place and it'll delay your ability to enroll in classes for the following year. So it's kind of a big hassle if you don't do it. And it's so easy to do. Meet with your advisor for 10 minutes. Now, I do want to point out that there's a hard way and an easy way to do this. So they're going to make themselves available for 3 hours. And if you go during one of those 3 hours, super easy. If you wait until spring quarter, until after all of those 3 hours have passed, very difficult, right? Some of our professors in popular majors like computer science might have 40 advisees, and they make themselves available during 3 hours in the fall, 3 hours in the winter, 3 hours in the spring. It's not reasonable for them to set up one-on-one appointments with 40 people in the last half of spring quarter as they're offering finals. So they're actually not going to be super receptive to that last minute request. Oh, I need to fulfill this requirement, meet with my advisor, because they were there for you in the fall, winter, and spring when you didn't come. So really, I encourage you, meet with your advisor during the second week of fall. Usually the advising happens during the second week. Meet with your advisor during second week of fall quarter. You check the box and you start the relationship because your advisor is going to be there for you if you get to know them. So take the time to get to know your advisor. By the way, if you have an initial meeting with your advisor and it doesn't seem like they're right for you, it's easy to switch. Just with a mouse of a click, you can switch to another advisor in your department that's a better fit for you. So in addition to your academic advisor, you have a peer mentor through our Mentor Seas program, and you can meet with them right away. They'll be available to meet with you during our engineering welcome day, sort of the first day we convene together. The mentors will be reaching out. And each mentor has a small number of mentees, and they're an upperclassman who can just give you a little bit of advice about how to engage at UCLA, how to meet people, how to organize your classes, which are the good classes to take together, whatever you'd like to ask them about. You also have the academic advisors who are in Bolter 6426 in our Office of Academic and Student Affairs. The academic advisors, academic counselors work with me to help make sure that you have a good experience. So they'll meet with you to help set your schedule, plan your schedule to make sure that you meet all the requirements so that you can graduate. And if you're having difficulty with anything, really, you can meet with an academic counselor and they can either help you directly to solve your problem or connect you with somebody who can. But they're great people to talk to about planning your schedule and making sure that you meet all of your requirements to graduate on time, and planning a schedule so that each quarter has a reasonable amount of workload. So all of these classes tend to be 4-unit classes, but they're not all equal. And there are some 2 4-unit classes that should never be taken in the same quarter because each of that class, they're just too hard. And the counselors know that. So you might think it's not that big of a deal to plan your schedule and you've got this list of classes and you just need to take them all, but you're doing it once. You're going to plan one curriculum and then you graduate. The academic counselors have planned 1,000 of these, and they know it inside out, which classes fit well together, which classes don't, how things are offered, what'll be easy to get out of the way or what you can put off until later. So please meet with an academic counselor. I think of it, you can sort of think of it as changing the oil in your schedule, and you want to go in once a quarter or at least once a year, get the oil changed, check with your academic counselor, make sure things are going well. We have, in addition to your faculty advisor, your peer mentor, and your academic counselor, and your large community of classmates, we have these engineering clubs, over 40 engineering clubs, several in each major. A lot of them have fantastic projects that are really fun and build your skills as an engineer. And then we also have clubs that do fantastic community service, reaching out to high schools, um, and just doing wonderful things for the community here at UCLA or the larger community of Los Angeles. These clubs are great ways to build your skills as well as meet some really exciting classmates, and have experiences that just help you grow as a person. So I'd really encourage you to join an engineering club. And of course, you want to take things in moderation. So as a freshman, during your first few weeks, um, you can just kind of dip your toe in and figure out which clubs you want to be in. But you may be kind of busy, with a lot of other things. So you don't have to feel like you have to spend 40 hours a week in clubs during your first quarter. You just go to a few of the meetings, get to know people, and then you can sort of decide which clubs you really want to focus on in your second quarter, and then maybe spending a little bit more time during your third quarter here in the spring quarter of your freshman or your first year as a transfer, as you get a better handle on your academic schedule and how long things take. So that's it. Welcome to UCLA. You are going to have a wonderful time here. You're going to build strong friendships and a really supportive community. You're going to work harder than you ever have before, but through that work, you're going to become the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life. You're going to learn things that you know, didn't even know that you could learn, and use those skills to go out and make this world a better place. So congratulations and go Bruins.